Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome you all back to the next character of my Newcomer series of videos, talking about possible Newcomer ideas for the upcoming Smash Bros. Game, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And now we are officially on character number 74, and as I mentioned in the last video with Dylan, character number 74 would be a return to Fire Emblem, and more specifically, return to Fire Emblem Three Houses, where I talk about the second of four main characters of that game, Byleth. Now, I already talked about Edelgard like about 15 some odd characters ago. 12, 10, 15 some odd characters ago. I have no idea when I did a video on her. I think she was 60. So like 14 or whatever. And I talked about her chances and about her wielding an axe, about her using magic, about her being my personal choice for a newcomer from Fire Emblem Three Houses in this, to be the next representative newcomer from the Fire Emblem series in Smash Brothers. But to be fair, I have to talk about the other three as well. I'm talking about Byleth now, and eventually down the line we'll be talking about Dimitri and Claude. So you'll see them eventually. But right now, we're specifically talking about Byleth, the avatar character, the personal protagonist, main protagonist avatar character from this game in terms of what information we're given so far. And as always, three separate categories. Why does the character make sense? Moveset ideas, and percentage chance I could see him actually getting in. Now, first off, why does Fire Emblem Three Houses get to be the next Fire Emblem newcomer? Why do they deserve to get a newcomer in Smash Brothers? And importantly, why is it Byleth? Let's start off, backpedal a little bit on why Three Houses should get a rep in general. And it's kind of the same reasons I mentioned with Edelgard. First and foremost, Fire Emblem Three Houses is the next big Fire Emblem game coming out next year in 2019, spring 2019. It's the first home console game for the Fire Emblem series since Radiant Dawn back in 2007, so it's been 11 years, and next year it'll be about 12. The biggest, newest game, Fire Emblem 16, the game we've been hyped for so long for the Fire Emblem fans. The return to home consoles is this big thing that I think is very significant to not only Nintendo, but especially Intelligent Systems, and probably Sakurai too, given that he's a fan of the series. The next big game, it's good marketing. It's good marketing to have a representative from the new game, because not only are you advertising that characters in Smash Bros., so fans of Fire Emblem Three Houses and Fire Emblem will go into Smash Bros. And be like, oh cool, I can play as Byleth, or whoever Three Houses character you pick. It will also advertise characters that like that character in Smash Bros. To then go buy Three Houses. It's a hint that we nudge working between Sakurai, Intelligent Systems, and Nintendo. Big deal. Big deal. So that's why Three Houses character should be in. It's the biggest, newest game, return to home consoles, and it's a good marketing strategy not only for Nintendo, but for Intelligent Systems. There you go. Him specifically, he is apparently the main protagonist of the four main characters of the series. I know we have Dimitri, Claude, and Edelgard, and Byleth. He is potentially the main character, the avatar character, the protagonist character, the one you control. But the other three represent the three different houses, Edelgard, Dimitri, and Claude. So he kind of stands out more as like the most likely, probable, possible standoutish choice, because he's the main protagonist. And his moveset, I think, could be different enough if they make him unique enough. The bad thing about him, and the reason why I'm not the personal fan of him, I'm a personal fan of the likes of Dimitri and Edelgard over Byleth a whole lot, because he is a sword user. And I know a lot of you Fire Emblem haters and sword haters out there are going to probably want to lynch me and probably want to come after me or bicker at the idea or hate the idea about us and their sword user for the Fire Emblem roster. But hold your horses. I said he wields a sword. It's not necessarily said in the game yet if he only wields a sword. And quite frankly, my moveset, when I get to it a few minutes from now, you'll probably all like it. All you Fire Emblem haters and all you sword haters will probably like me, like my moveset very much so, because I'm not going straight for a sword. But what I'm saying is, he is classified in a class type of instructor as teacher. He teaches people how to wield weapons. So I'm assuming if he knows how to teach a warrior or a soldier to wield a sword, he probably knows how to fight with other weapons as well. And that's how I based off his moveset. So if Sakurai, if his team, go a certain route, they can make him the most unique of all, especially given the fact that we don't know anything about him. And right now, out of all four main characters, he's the least unique of them all. But if they go a certain route, like my route, they can make him fairly unique. So yes, Fire Emblem Three Houses deserves a representative, because the next big Zelda, I was about to say Zelda. I just talked about Impa a little while ago. Next big Fire Emblem rep. Sakurai always shown he picks a new rep from a big rep from the new Fire Emblems, which Chrom doesn't fit in. 2. So I'm assuming 3 houses. It's the next big Fire Emblem game coming out next year. It's going to be hugely marketable. Return to home consoles. It just stands out above the rest to be the next newcomer, even over Echoes, which I still want to get representative. But if there's only one, I'm assuming it's going to be 3 houses. Him specifically, he is the main character apparently in the series, and if pending on his teacher class, he could be unique in moveset potential, so maybe Sakurai will see that and make him unique enough. And he might stand out enough if they do so with him. Moveset ideas. Now, I want to do it like this. It's going to be, and we don't know, first and foremost, this is me going off the information we don't know, because out of all 3 main characters from the E3 trailer of Fire Emblem 3 Houses many months ago, Byleth is the one we've seen the least fight with. We've seen Edelgard fight with an axe. If you read online on Nintendo's official website of 3 Houses, you know she wields magic as well, as I stated in my video. Dimitri wields a lance. Claude is an archer. We've seen enough footage of him walking around the cities and whatnot in the game, but we never actually seen him fight. You've seen him on the field once, but he wasn't attacking or doing any fighting damage, and you read online, you know he wields a sword. I'm using my creative freedom with such information that I lack and am limited to do this moveset, and I hope you all enjoy it. He is a 3-in-1 fighting style character, so it's like the Pokemon trainer, but instead of switching out the characters, you switch out the weapon types, and I set this similar style back at character number 50 when I did Miriam from Bloodstained. She had different weapons in her game. It's like it's a Castlevania game, like a Metroidvania game. She wields like an axe type thing. She wields a sword and she wields a whip. I picked the 3-weapon triangles to represent him. He wields a lance, a sword, and an axe. And then you press down B, like how you switch out the Pokemon trainer. So instead of come back this Pokemon, go out this Pokemon trainer, you just say, oh, I'm putting away my sword, I'm pulling out my axe, I'm pulling out my axe, I'm pulling out my lance. It's a 3-in-1 weapon sword user. Down B, like how Pokemon Trainer was in Brawl, and it's likely in Ultimate, and you switch out the weapons. They all have different, stats as well. The sword's the average weapon, average speed, average damage. You wield the sword, it's like Mara for Ike or whatever. Slice, 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 slice. Jab, stab, uppercut, downward slash. Swords. If you've seen the other Fire Emblem characters, he fights like that, at least in his own variation of that. He wields out the axe. It will be the faster weapon that does the least amount of damage. I know axes are usually super more heavily powered, but I had to balance it out, so one's more of an average speed, one's more or less powerful and faster, one's slower but more powerful, which is the lance when I get to it in a second. And he wields the axe like, hey-ya, hi-ya, hi-ya, ya-ya-ya-ya, wee. Then he wants to pull out the lance. It's a slower weapon, but the most powerful. He pulls it out. Stab the ground kind of thing. So it's a slower weapon. So if you want to do more damage, but you're slower, that affects his stats with that. I want to do it so I represent the weapon triangle, which we still don't have 2/3 of that triangle yet. So I'm using my creative freedom with the lack of information we know about Byleth to make the moveset, since he is an instructor after all, a teacher, that he knows how to wield a lance and an axe. And he is a 3-in-1 weapon user. His special attacks, if he knows how to wield a lance and an axe, then he should be able to know how to wield other weapons as well. So his special attacks include using a bow and arrow, and that would be his range attack, or at least one of his range attacks. So if he knows how to wield a lance and axe, he should also know how to be an archer. And it's a slight little nod to represent, Claude, like how the axe and the lance are slight little nods to represent Edelgard and Dimitri. So he can wield a bow and arrow and shoot. So he's a ranged Fire Emblem fighter that can shoot from a distance. He also can throw daggers, like a ninja or a thief, and he can also pull out a knife and do really close range attacks with a knife, like a thief. So we represent not only the axe and the lance, we represent the bow, we represent the daggers, we represent the little knives. We represent different weapons in him. And I'm going to throw this off to the side because I don't know if he will be able to wield it, because just because he's an instructor doesn't know how he knows how to do this. But I'm throwing a little bit of magic into his special lineup as well. But basic magic, like fire and wind and thunder and ice and whatever. Not like Elwind or Nosferatu or crazy stuff like that. It's like basic ones, maybe like 2 or 3 spells. Fire, thunder, and maybe wind. Like the basic ones. Because just because he knows how to teach people how to wield weapons doesn't mean he knows how to wield magic. I'm just throwing that off to the side as a possibility for his moveset if he does indeed know how to use magic. But more so importantly, shooting the bow and arrow, throwing the daggers, and wielding a knife alongside his axe, his lance, and his sword. That's how he would do his moveset. Now, the final smash, I want to do this to represent all 4 main characters, and I call it 3 houses join forces. So he's going to call, like how we know now in Fire Emblem 3 Houses, everyone fights with this army behind them. It's going to be, he goes in for, it's a cutscene based attack. Byleth jumps forward and attacks you probably with a sword, pretty much, or whatever weapon he's wielding, but I would say it might just be a basic animation, him just lunging forward and slashing opponents with a sword. Anyone that gets caught in it gets put into a cutscene. And then he's like you're standing in the middle of this Fire Emblem battlefield, soldiers everywhere, fighting each other and dying and everything. And the enemies are like, in the middle of battle, they're like trying to keep their distance away from, from Byleth and Edelgard. Kind of, Byleth kind of calls in Edelgard, Dimitri, and Claude. And out of nowhere, you see Edelgard just charging and just swipes her axe at the opponents. And they get like, oh! And then here comes Dimitri with his lance. Oh! And then you see off on a cliff somewhere a little far away, Claude and his archer teammates firing raining arrows like, and then I don't know where you see Byleth with a sword. He strays forward, and it's like Amar, Lucina final special. She runs forward, does this quick swipe, and then the life meter goes, and then the opponents get sent flying off the stage. 3 houses join forces, so it represents Edelgard, Dimitri, and Claude alongside Byleth. And that's my moveset for them. Now, in terms of percentage they can get in, I'm giving the same percentages I give Edelgard. Because in my opinion, if we get a 3 houses rep, there's really only 2 choices. It's Edelgard or it's Byleth. Dimitri kind of falls in the middle. Claude's like the odd man out here. Dimitri stands a chance. Like, I put Edelgard and Byleth on the same level, and then Dimitri about here, and then Claude down here. But because if we get one, it's likely going to be Edelgard because of her originality, or Byleth because of his main protagonist type setting. So and this is just like I mentioned with Edelgard, this would be another character I talk about 2 possibilities: base roster and DLC. Base roster, if Sakurai could talk, he talks to these companies, he really does. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. He knew about 3 houses for a while now and pretty much added a character late in development. 40%, about 30-40%, but I'm going to keep it 40%, that we might possibly last minute see Byleth or Edelgard or Dimitri or Claude, a 3 houses rep on the roster. Main basic roster, base roster. Release day roster. It's not likely, but it's possible because he can talk to these people. He's talked to them for Lucaria, he's talked to them for Greninja, he's talked to them for Roy and whatnot. He's talked to these companies ahead of time and got characters that were closer to release than normal. So I do think it's possible. It's just not as likely. I think 40% is pretty decent. DLC-wise, though, just like Edelgard, 95% chance. Because I can almost guarantee we'll get a 3 houses rep as DLC because of the advertising and marketing that can go into it. I think we're going to get Pokemon Generation 8, the big new game that comes out next year. That will be represented in Smash Brothers, Smash Bros. Ultimate. And if they represent that, they're going to represent 3 houses. The two of the biggest Switch games, 2 of the biggest Nintendo games to come out next year, I think they're going to represent it. And I think DLC might be based off of marketing and advertising the new games, like Rex and Pyra if they don't make the base roster, Springman if ARMS doesn't get represented. New games like Generation 8 Pokemon, 3 houses, Fire Emblem, maybe some third-party games that are coming out next year. Big third-party games that get advertised and whatnot. So, yeah, maybe I think that's what's going to happen. I think 95% chance because I think it's very likely we'll get this character as DLC because I don't think Chrom is the last choice. I do think we're going to get at least one more Fire Emblem character. I would love to be able to get an Echoes character on the base roster and a 3 houses character as DLC, and that'd be freaking awesome. But if we get only one, I think it's going to probably be a 3 houses character as DLC. And I think they're just as likely, if not more so, on equal terms or whatever, to a Pokemon Generation 8. So base roster, 40% is fairly decent because Sakurai could talk to these companies ahead of time and work, go into development and see characters, but not very likely. DLC-wise, though, the game's coming out next year. It could be released around the DLC, probably about the summer, certainly thereafter the game. They could hype it up and advertise it and market it. Put Edelgard in there, put Byleth in there, Dimitri or Claude. Good advertising, a good new addition to the Fire Emblem roster, no matter who it is, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's it for Byleth, or however the heck you pronounce his name. So that's it for that character. Put in the comments what you guys think. Do you guys like the idea of Fire Emblem Three Houses in general, getting a character foremost? And if you had a choice, who would you pick? My personal choice is still Edelgard. She wields an axe and she uses magic. She is very diverse. And then it'd probably be Dimitri and Byleth kind of tied. And then Claude probably at the last choice. But I'd like to see any of them represented because they represent something unique and different. I know a lot of people are going to jump on the Byleth train because he's the main character, but if they go the safe route and just make him a sword user, I think that's what's scaring me about him. I don't really want to see that. My moveset idea makes a whole lot more damn sense. Wielding axes, using the bow and arrow, wielding lances, throwing daggers, using a knife. I think that'd be a lot more fun, especially because he's an instructor. He should know how to wield multiple weaponry. But I personally would pick Edelgard, but Three Houses, this should be Byleth, should be Dimitri, should it be Claude, should it be, Edelgard, should it be any of those characters, whatever. You want to pick All Marcelica instead, you want to pick someone else from Three Houses, I'm sure there's other characters, or whatever the heck else. Put in the comment section below, does my moveset make sense? Would you like to see that moveset? Because I think that moveset sounds very diverse and it's awesome and it's unique and creative. What would you do for a moveset? Should it be Edelgard? Should it be Dimitri, Claude, Byleth? Who would you pick? My reasons make sense. What reasons would you come up with? Is 40% base roster, 95% DLC make a lot of sense? Because I think those are the two, Edelgard and Byleth, that make the most sense as Three Houses reps for the Fire Emblem roster on Smash Bros. Ultimate. I don't really know. Put in the comment section below, discuss it there, have fun, and character number 74 is done. I hope you guys liked the video. Like I said, put in the comments what you guys think. My name is Slicker. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Stay tuned next time for character number 75 when we jump back into the world of third parties and to a third-party franchise that has had quite a bit of history on Nintendo when I talk about the Doom guy. Yeah. See y'all later.